It's 3 a.m. You swore you wouldn't do it again, but your baby is crying, you're exhausted, and the only thing that works is feeding them back to sleep. So you do. And as they finally go soft and heavy in your arms, instead of relief, you feel that little knot of guilt. Because someone online told you that feeding your baby to sleep is a bad habit, a rod for your own back you'll pay for later. Here's what I need you to hear tonight. That is not what the research says. A 2026 study of almost 83,000 babies found the exact opposite of what you've been scared of. So before you carry that guilt into one more night, stay with me. This one lifts a weight off your chest. I'm Mia. I've got 2 under 5, and I lived this exact one. With my first, my daughter, there was a stretch right around 4 months where the only way she'd go down was feeding on me. And I still remember one specific night, 3 a.m., that squeaky glider chair, her finally latched and heavy, and me scrolling my phone one-handed in the dark, Googling, is feeding to sleep a bad habit? The top result basically told me I was making a rod for my own back. I sat there in the dark and cried. Then I spent the next week wearing myself out trying to fix something that was never broken. So let me save you that week. Feeding to sleep isn't a glitch you accidentally created. It's one of the oldest, most built-in sleep tools there is. Milk and sleep are wired together on purpose. When we call it a bad habit, we're stapling a phrase from adult self-discipline, like biting your nails, onto a newborn who is doing exactly what their biology is begging them to do. A baby can't have a bad habit. They have needs and a brand new nervous system that has no idea how to switch itself off yet. Feeding is simply the switch that works. Now here's the part that should take the guilt away. The fear is that feeding to sleep leads to worse sleep, more wakes, a baby who can't sleep without you. But when researchers actually measure it, that story falls apart. In 2026, a study in the European Journal of Clinical Nutrition followed almost 83,000 mother and baby pairs. The babies who were exclusively breastfed, the group most likely to be fed to sleep, were 23% less likely to be short sleepers by their first birthday than formula-fed babies. Less likely, not more. And a 2024 review in Acta Pediatrica found feeding to sleep isn't linked to lasting sleep problems. Any extra waking in those early months tends to fade on its own. It doesn't harden into a permanent trap. So if you've been lying awake at 2 a.m. doing the maths on the damage, the honest answer is none. You're not building a problem, you're meeting a need. And here's the long game payoff nobody mentions while they're busy scaring you. Every single time you respond to your baby, feed them, hold them, help them settle, you're not spoiling them. You're teaching their nervous system one thing over and over. The world is safe and someone comes. That's the bedrock of secure attachment, linked to better emotional regulation years down the line. Calmer kids, not clingier ones. So the very thing you've been told is a weakness is actually you laying down the deepest groundwork there is. And that association you're losing sleep over isn't permanent. As your baby's brain matures, they slowly grow the wiring to bridge sleep on their own, and they use it when they're ready. You are not signing a contract to feed a 10-year-old to sleep. You are carrying your baby until they can walk, and then, on their own timeline, they walk. And real quick, if any of this is helping tonight, a like or a subscribe genuinely keeps this channel going. These take a while to make, and that one tap is how the next parent crying at 3 a.m. gets to find it. Okay, back to the science. Let me show you what's really going on. The science here is honestly beautiful. Your milk is not the same drink all day long. It carries your own body clock inside it. Daytime milk is higher in the wake-up ingredients, but night milk, the milk your body makes in the small hours, is rich in tryptophan and melatonin, the exact chemicals that make us sleepy. Researchers back in 2005 found the tryptophan in breast milk rises and falls on a daily rhythm, peaking in the middle of the night, right when it lines up with your baby's own sleep hormones. In plain English, when you feed your baby to sleep at 3 a.m., you are quite literally giving them a natural sleep aid your body brewed on schedule. And it isn't only chemistry. Feeding releases a wave of oxytocin and calming hormones, and being held skin close lets their heartbeat and breathing sync to yours. That's co-regulation, your steady nervous system switching off their alarm. No app, no gadget, just biology doing what it evolved to do. And there's a reason it feels non-negotiable in those early months. For the first 12 to 14 weeks, what people call the fourth trimester, your baby's brain still expects the constant motion, warmth, and heartbeat of the womb. Feeding to sleep quietly recreates all three at once. You are not spoiling them out of the womb. You're giving them a gentle bridge back to it while their brain finishes wiring itself for the outside world. So if feeding to sleep isn't a problem, what do you actually do if you genuinely want to change it? Because wanting your evenings back is allowed too. Here's the key nobody explains. Babies don't learn to fall asleep alone by being left alone. They learn it by borrowing your calm thousands of times first. That's co-regulation, until slowly their own brain can take over. So you never rip the support away. You shrink it one tiny step at a time. To gently loosen the feed to sleep link, try this. Keep feeding for comfort, but nudge it earlier in the routine. Feed, then a book, then bed. So the last thing before sleep isn't always the breast or bottle. On an easy night, let them come off drowsy but not fully gone, and see if they'll drift the rest of the way with your hand resting on them. If they cry, you go back in. No timers, no walking out. You're just widening the little window where they practice, while staying right there as their safety net. And go into this expecting it to take weeks, not nights, because that's how a brain actually learns anything. Some evenings it'll click and they'll surprise you. Other nights they'll want the full feed and absolutely nothing else. And that is not you going backwards. Progress here looks like a staircase with the odd step down, never a straight line. Measure it night to night and you'll feel like you're failing by breakfast. Measure it in weeks and you'll actually see it move. But I need you to hear this too. You do not have to change a single thing tonight. If feeding to sleep is working and you're okay with it, that is a complete, valid choice, full stop. Millions of mothers feed to sleep for months, even years, and their kids sleep absolutely fine. There's no medal for the baby who fell asleep the hard way. The only reason to shift it is if it stops working for you, if your back's aching, if you're completely touched out, if you want someone else to do bedtime too. Those are wonderful reasons. A stranger online called it a bad habit is not one. You change it when you want to, at a pace that's kind to both of you, or not at all. And let me quickly answer the 3 worries I hear the most. Won't they need me to fall asleep forever? No. No healthy teenager feeds to sleep. It ends every single time on their timeline, not a stranger's. Isn't it bad for their teeth? check with your dentist, but for most little ones, this is a non-issue in the early months, and gentle oral habits come later, not at 12 weeks. And am I the only one still doing this? Not even close. You're just the only one not posting about it at 3 a.m. And when you do decide to gently loosen it, you don't have to figure it out alone at midnight. The whole done-for-you version, the wind down, the calm down hold, and a wake window cheat sheet by age is inside my 72-hour sleep kit. The link's right below. Here's what changed for me once I stopped fighting it. Bedtime stopped being a test I was failing every night. I fed my babies to sleep, I stopped apologizing for it, and one at a time, on their own clocks, they simply grew out of needing it. Nothing broke. Nothing had to be undone. With my second, my son, I didn't fight it at all. I fed him to sleep every single night and told the guilt to wait outside. And somewhere around 10 months, without a single method, he just started rolling over and patting the mattress instead of rooting for me. I didn't teach that. His brain grew it. I just kept him company until it did. You are not building a bad habit. You're being your baby's off switch while their brain quietly grows its own. That's not a weakness. That's exactly your job right now. And if this lifted a little weight off your shoulders, here's where to go next. Sometimes the feed doesn't work. Your baby is already crying and nothing settles them. That's the exact moment I broke down in my main video. The gentle calm down hold I use instead of cry it out. If tonight took the guilt away, that one hands you the tool. Watch it next. I'll link it right here. Quick reminder, this channel is general information and support only. It's not medical advice. Always talk to your child's pediatrician about your baby's health and sleep. You're doing better than you think. You've got this.